Mm.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm still good. I think it's enough.
Warming up. I'm starting to consider like fiddling with an app and just making a weird song as an intro music.
I swear we should get Mitch to sing something.
And then we could like edit a short clip of just stuff, and after we say warming up, we play that clip, so it's like the title screen effect.
What you really need is like the GM waiting music, you know, or dare I say the something akin to the Lacuna waiting music.
Mhm. Ah, oh my gosh, why are people selling stuff?
Doing Joan of Arc.
It looks good though. I don't know what it is, but it looks good.
It's like that.
We're suckers kasi for medieval.
And then like the Inuit art game, but I mean, it looks
Mm,
pretty.
mm-mm.
And then the Viking, the other Viking one, the Inuks or something like
Uh, okay. Both seem to be functioning. Shooting out invites to our friends in case they would like to join us. It's funny I don't get all the lists now. It really sucks. Discouraging me from resharing that way. Hey Andre, we missed you too, good friend. Stay a while. Just resharing our links. Please help reshare, boost the signal, and let's hope to get more viewers.
Yes, please like the video, share with people who may not have played with Petz. Today's episode will determine that Toby and I are older and what most people will think of as virtual pet experiences. We probably skipped.
Mm-mm.
And in honor of this virtual pet discussion, we're just wearing our video game shirts. So this is the I can't see him. It's Mario. So I think by now, yeah, my Planet Zoo is ready to play.
Okay, you bought it finally.
I bought it. I
After-
bought the after what
All
almost
this-
a week of.
Mental tug of warring on whether or not you should get it.
You're such an enabler, you know.
What? You can afford it. It won't affect our lifestyle. It's not a waste of money. It's not buying medicines that have not been proven to work against a certain thing.
Wow!
So, yeah.
Wow! Wow!
Wow. Wow.
I knew you were gonna do it. You were gonna do it. You were trying to do an Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow.
Ah.
Wow. I can't do it. Wow. Hey, Mitch. Hey,
You
Mike.
can keep trying.
What did Rocky buy? Planet Zoo.
Planet Zoo, but I got the platinum bundle, so it's like Planet Zoo and like
And more.
5 expansions. I have the complete expansions for Jurassic Park Evolution. I've never played that one either. Same developer.
Mhm.
I was tempted to get Planet Coaster, but then I think I'm not gonna do it, so I didn't get Planet Coaster.
I just played Terraforming Mars and ended up with
No more
45 income and 19 plants per round. And I was not allowed to plant more than 2 greeneries at the last round. But there's only space for 1. But it does say you can plant up to 2 greeneries.
That's
So I
interesting.
guess
Now we have to double check the
yeah, I think we've
rules.
been playing it wrong all this time and planting as many as we had
Oh my
planned. So,
god. Ouch.
oh, careful.
Mitch is like
Get the alcohol.
planning to get Canvas. Did you find the copy? No, we did not.
There was a local copy selling for like 3,000, so I had second thoughts, only because someone beat me to it.
That's not a second thought.
No, it's second thoughts because now I don't want to chase after it because someone beat me to it. It's not meant for me. So now I'm looking at someone selling Shared Dream, which is not necessarily a great game, but it's like the entire set for 7, and I'm tempted to like ask him, I'll buy it for 5. And
This is like that award giving body that was like, hey, you want to join more these categories because not a lot of people join. I feel like that's you in secondhand board games. When too many people show interest, like commoners.
well, I just don't like chasing after games, which is why
You like the games to come to you.
there was that the Firefly game. It was on sale. I messaged, I was interested. I was told I'm second in line. I was like, that's okay. If someone else buys it, it's fine. And then later on, they contacted me back. Actually, the guy backed out. Okay, bye. But I don't want feeling depressed or disappointed that I failed to grab it.
So the short answer is no, we don't have Canvas yet. And apparently Toby is not looking for it unless it looks for him.
Yes. So if suddenly it appears in my feed and no one's buying it, okay, I'll buy it. But until then.
And it wasn't in miniature market either in their spring
No,
fling.
it's local. That's
No,
why.
I'm just checking if you
Yeah.
also saw it. In,
The one in miniature market na naunahan ako was Master of Orion, which I heard was a terrible game.
I'm sure it was.
But I wanted to get it just because we played the old computer game.
And I'm still really like more like most of my experience is Master of Orion 1.
With the when you're fighting, it's non-inertia combat. So
Yeah.
you're like thruster, release, and then you're turning.
And you have no real control. You're just
Mhm.
watching like the ship you design.
No, there was control.
Really, I
You
can't
could steer,
remember.
you could steer and shoot to some extent.
There was like a pause to make decisions.
Yes,
thing.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I remember. now. Yeah.
So
Okay. we
okay,
should probably-
so we should start this episode because it is not a holiday for Rocky tomorrow, but it is for me, and I'm still wondering if I will do something like run a game or something. But anyway, this is Toby. Wow.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride. We're still waiting for that intro song, Mitch. Welcome to Baduy Pride. Oh my god, I forgot the spiel. Where we talk about anything we want.
Wow, let's jump straight to that.
Yeah.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Janice, we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. Tonight's episode is all about virtual pets, and we spelled it with a Z because we specifically remember one and might focus on it more than the rest.
Because okay, and we'll try to go over a few and like, but I feel like a lot of people when they say virtual pets, the first thing they're gonna think of are gonna be things that we didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely one of the common ones I think that will come up is Tamagotchi, right?
Yes.
And then it was one of the most famous, or dare I say infamous, virtual pet things. Although you could argue it was like a really fancy Game and Watch. It was its own quote unquote handheld console,
Yes.
right? And then when it came out, I was still in grade school, and then it became one of those like everybody was it was very banned in school
Mm-hmm.
because it kept making noise in the classroom.
Kept chirping out of nowhere because it's hungry or it needs to
Yeah,
pee.
so it was one of those signs of extravagance. So it was very looked down upon to
Mhm.
get. So I never got a Tamagotchi growing up.
Mhm.
And then
you waited for it to come to you.
no, that's you. Did you ever have a Tamagotchi, or did anyone in your family have a Tamagotchi?
I briefly had a Tamagotchi. I did not know how to deal with it, so it died.
I think it's a
Because they
thing.
do die.
Yeah, and then like
And-
I think even just the course of ignoring them during a school day, like for school, they were probably gonna die
And
by
then-
the time you got home.
And then I just gave up. And a lot of my friends were into Tamagotchi. They were showing it off, and I was like, "Huh, you have Tamagotchi? I have Monster Rancher." And that was me. I was more happy with the console than I was with the small, whatever those small, tiny devices were. And that was really more me being
Although I
spiteful.
feel like Tamagotchi was fairly before Monster Rancher.
yeah,
Like if you look specifically, Tamagotchi. When did Tamagotchi first?
that's the 90s.
Yeah, 96.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Monster Rancher was a little bit later.
yeah. Kasi PS1 na yun, diba?
Yes.
Okay. And then for you, why was Monster Rancher your virtual pet experience?
Because there was the joy of hunting them down, and I had a CD collection, so I was that type of person to have a lot
Did
of
you guys
CDs.
get to play Monster Rancher back in
It
the
was
day?
that old PlayStation 1 game we're in. To find more monsters, you had to
Find them.
use these. They call them stones, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think we forgot those magic stones or holy stones.
Wait, let's look.
But those were basically disc stones. There you go. And you basically get any compact disc, you place it in the system,
And Toby said compact disc
and it
because
will
we know it
find
means.
it will find a monster in that disc, and that was amazing. Because at first I thought it was purely random,
Yeah.
but then we were like, try this, try this. I got this monster. It had this eye thing, and then when my friend tried it, it was also the eye thing. So we're like, it's really reading the disc. It's really detecting something.
Yeah, it was probably just using it to
Like the first-
pull up from a random table.
Yeah, or it was probably pulling like the first number of the digital,
Index.
Yeah,
No,
and
it's
then-
probably just reading like the
and then
menu.
relating that to a table. But that was just awesome for me as a kid. And then it was nice how the monsters, you could train them, and even if we got the same monster, for example, the way I trained it might develop mine different from yours, and then they could also get sick. Yeah.
Oh wow, look, it's like so looking at the wiki.
Mhm.
Some discs are designed to produce specific monsters,
Yes.
often thematically related to the disc in question. For
Yes.
example, in Monster Rancher 4, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets DVD, as well as the tie-in PlayStation game, created a unique owl
Mhm.
monster. And then Monster Rancher 2 and 4, Tecmo's Dead or Alive game creates a pixie called Kasumi.
Mhm.
Special CDs called Pandora disc can produce multiple monsters. Often the Monster Rancher game CD itself is a Pandora disc. Oh, I never tried just running its own disc.
I know the earlier version also already had something like that, in the sense of there were certain discs that seemed to produce certain monsters that seemed thematically appropriate. So we were like super weirded out at that time. Like I think Bram Stoker's Dracula, the soundtrack, produced a dark monster, something like that.
some,
so like
some
whoa.
devilly monster. Okay. So that was, and I think I only played it a bit. My brother probably played it more.
Mm.
And then like similarly to Monster Rancher was also probably Pokemon. But then like I didn't own a Game Boy.
Mhm.
So I only got to play Pokemon via emulators.
Mhm.
And that was quaint. But then I think after the first 150 Pokemon, I kind of called it a day. Like didn't really go back to
I
it
barely
except until Pokemon Go.
I barely played Pokemon.
Okay.
I think I got tired real quick. Only because it felt like a stripped down version of, let's say, Dragon Warrior
Mm.
or Suikoden. I mean, in terms of you run around and then you eventually fight things and then you come and collect. In Suikoden, it was more heroes.
Hey, at least Suikoden had a compelling story and a cooking mini game.
And had combos where you'd suddenly stop for tea while fighting.
Yes, but I super love
What are those
Suikoden.
called again? The Unity.
Unity
the
attacks.
Unity attacks, yes.
Yeah, the very first one is like when you surprisingly unlock the hero's master, the teacher. That was my favorite because it attacked every monster,
Mhm.
but it was so long to watch because it was like.
Yeah, and it was amazing how there were just so many combinations because it all depended on which heroes were active to have the Unity
I
effects.
hated the I don't know what they were, the flying squirrels, because they weren't quite tanuki, but because there were 5 of them,
Mhm.
and to like get their unity attack, you needed all 5. But then it's so annoying to level them up because they're so stupid, and they just
But
go,
we're going back to pets.
That's
Going back to
fine.
pets. Going back to pets. Mwah. Pokemon. You're talking about Pokemon.
Yeah, and then another thing was also popular that we neither of us got into, but I think this was already like my brother's time, was Neopets. And
Or
mine
Digimon.
mentioned it also. Well, Digimon too, but I thought Digimon was just another Pokemon.
Neopets, I think I got into it a little bit because it was a browser-based experience at some point.
Yes, it was quite the big online community, and then it was like all this work to earn virtual currency
Yeah.
just
I
to
think they
do
were
more stuff for your
candies.
pets. I don't know. I never Neopetted
I didn't
myself.
last long in Neopets because I jumped from Neopets to what was it called?
I did not play Neopets at all. My brother played Neopets.
Club Penguin.
Oh my God. I know I heard of it, but oh my
It
God, there
sounds
it
like
is.
it sounds like an LGBT site. But yeah, there was
Oh
a
my
Club
God, and
Penguin.
it's a full MMORPG.
Yes. Which was basically well, Club Penguin Island was the bigger one, but Club Penguin was the original one. Which
Hmm.
well,
Oh, it's Disney.
I dare say it was a prettier version than Kingdom of Loathing.
I never got into Kingdom of Loathing.
So there were those days, but eventually I jumped off and then got into Prison Tale, but didn't last long. Very
Oh, I
brief,
played Prison Tale
very
for a
very
while.
brief touch of World of Warcraft. Not my thing. Left it and realized I really decided to stick to tabletop.
So, so these are a lot of pet games that we did not play, but I feel like these are what people think of when we talk about pets. For us, which was funny because it took us a while but to figure it out. Because I was like, no, I know we had literal virtual pets that lived like you can even have them on your desktop,
Mm-mm.
and like it was funny. And we realized, like, hence the spelling of this episode is that Toby and I both played Pets with a Z, and there was Pets dogs and Pets cats.
Will this work? Will this work?
Sort
Yeah.
of.
So this is version 5 of the game. It's the older. It's the more recent ones compared to the older ones,
Which
which we
is
remember.
funny. Yeah, because like it has a
Um,
garden.
but it basically, I loved how the motion of the animals there. Look at that. They look like they're actually animals, and you can pick them up and you can throw them around. But yeah, Pets was this amazing pet simulator back in the day before things were as complicated as they were. Um, they were a popular video game that came out in the 90s. They used these weird shapes that they strung together to get the animation to feel like an animal, right?
Yeah,
The
'cause
earliest ones were even mostly circles.
yeah. So I mean, if you look at this, and this is a GIF, but
Mhm.
it's essentially what the motion was like. It was kind of intriguing but creepy, and like, oh my god, this dog is like super classic
They
dog.
would have skittish motions. They would have emotional reactions. With your mouse, you can pick them up. You can actually throw them to some extent, and they'll land.
And they'll kind of
And
whimper.
then they'll go away from you because they don't like what you did. And you could buy toys, you could buy food, you could give them a shower.
So this thing I want to load this GIF.
But yeah, Pets was such an amazing, interesting game. And yes, they could be walking on your desktop, which was the oddest, funnest thing because you felt like they were really out of the game.
And it was really like you had to spend time every day.
Mhm.
Like you had to check on them, you had to feed them and water them, and then it wasn't there wasn't like a lot of specific detail. Like there weren't health meters and
Mm.
things. It was just an experience, right? And so and we had both the cats and the dog thing. Oh my god, it was super like all these motions. So anyway, yeah, pets, right? So so I'm amused that there are people who remember it also. But then like when Toby and I think about virtual pets, we think about this. And I don't even remember which iterations we had, but we definitely had we had the cat and the dog versions.
Mhm.
I don't know which number. Apparently because it reached Pets 5 and that's kind of crazy.
Bonkers.
Yeah. And then like you would have to like there was I remember there was like a toolkit with a fixed number of toys in the first
Mhm.
edition of the game.
Because at first it was just that small cabinet, and it was the
Yeah.
house or the bathroom, depending on which stage you chose. Um, so the website for the for the old developer that was PF Magic.
PF Magic, yes.
So they were founded in 1991 and were absorbed eventually by Ubisoft. And during that period, they developed Pet series. They even had babies, and they
I
had
think I remember
oddballs.
babies. But Pets was really like
So if you
the claim
try
to fame.
typing pfmagic.com, you will actually see their old website. where it showcases their dogs and cats are virtual pets that live in your desktop. With little puppy dog pets, kitty cats, raise them and grow and learn and play together. And what
And then
happened?
it becomes Ubisoft.
Yeah, it jumps away, which is terrible. Why did you bring me away from the site I wanted to look at?
And more importantly, is that website in Comic Sans?
Oh my gosh, now I can't go back to it. I have to click that link again.
You got stuck in a redirect loop, and then it sent you to things. And everything was like spelled with a Z. So you could buy treats for your pet. You
Yeah.
could buy toys.
Tasty treats was your reward, but don't overdo it. There's the spray bottle to spray them when they're
Oh
out of
yeah,
line.
because you could train them a bit. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, there was creatures, dogs, cats, babies, and oddballs.
Wow.
And then regret. Ugh,
Ubisoft
yeah,
takes
it keeps
over.
jumping away.
That's fascinating. Noel's asking if Neopets is alive. We don't know. I don't know. We can check.
Neopets, I know, was having a second incarnation. So checking right now.
Parang it's a new Neopet. The
The-
logo looks very
Yeah, the
different.
website's still alive. They still have a lot of games right now going on. The art is a little bit more advanced than before.
Mm.
Um,
But it also looks more. The art is still more a bit more modern in styling.
Yeah.
If I dare say, it looks. It doesn't look like 90s art. um. So yeah. So and then what do you think is the? Because okay, how come we don't see like big virtual pet games anymore? Or I feel like we don't. Or are there any?
so a lot of the virtual pet games that now exist are more built for the casual market. If you look at cell phone games,
Oh,
have-
that's a good.
you have
point.
My Talking Tom, which is this tomcat type of character. You have Nintendogs, which is the Nintendo Switch dog-like simulator
Mm.
the games. You have Pooh, which is it's a poop that you can take care of. Moi was one of the more popular ones with a lot of iterations. But then you have others which have gone beyond just pets because let's face it, The Sims blew away a lot of the competition when it came to simulating a life and seeing how far it will go.
That's true. I mean, like, and then you could eventually get animals in later incarnations of The
Mhm.
Sims. So
Yes.
I guess that simulated the virtual experience enough. Karen and another person already mentioned Pet Society. I'm not
Mhm.
familiar with Pet Society.
Pet Society
It was a Playfish game for Facebook.
yeah.
apparently.
Pet Society was a social network game developed by Playfish that could be played off Facebook. You could design your pets, you could choose genders, names,
Mm.
colors, appearances.
I think the main the main Facebook game that I really got into was other than Mafia Wars,
Mhm.
which I actually played a fair amount of time. Was Restaurant City.
Yes.
You remember Restaurant City?
Not naman Diner Dash.
Not. I didn't play it in Facebook. I still played it in like
Hmm.
Yahoo or
there's
something.
Restaurant City.
Okay. Noel,
I
like,
think
does
it got-
Farmville count as a pet game?
Officially, no.
No, because it's really a farming simulation
Yes.
game. So when you think about a pet game, it's really just focused on the animal and it's nuanced in that experience. So normally it's essentially what became The Sims, right? Because it's caring for their food, their water, their
Mhm.
happiness. So I guess oh my god, if we went to try to define what a virtual pet game is, then I guess those are the hallmarks of it. And yeah, and I see the overlap with The Sims, and then like more people were just interested in running a virtual person
Yeah.
versus a virtual
Because you
Animal.
could live out your fantasies through that.
yeah. So now I'm like curious about we're talking about the beginning of the episode. I just got Planet Zoo, okay,
Mhm.
and then I'm going to be running a zoo, which is not a virtual pet experience, but it's gonna be a lot of animals in that thing. And I appreciate that a lot more love went into animating the animals
Mhm.
than the people. The people in that game are like a really standard cartoony template of people over and over.
Well, I'm just amusing who wrote the article.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So some interesting apps that do exist out there include Boo Boo, who is this
Oh my god.
animal that you raise as
It
a
looks
pet.
like a cat.
There's Dogotchi, which is Tamagotchi, like a dog.
Wasn't there like a Tamagotchi app that weirded me out?
There was. There's
Okay.
the Tamagotchi Forever, I think, or Tamagotchi
Uh,
Legacy. There's My Boo, which is a play on the Pooh game. The
there,
Tamagotchi
my
Forever.
Tamagotchi forever.
Yeah, and then of course Nekotsume is another example.
Okay, Neko Atsume. I don't. It's interesting if we count it as a virtual pet experience because I always felt like we just had this house
The idle game.
that was open to cats, but none of these cats were my pets
But
because they didn't stay.
but isn't that how it is when you own a cat? Isn't that the perfect simulation of a cat game?
Karen Kind, which is the new Tamagotchi. Oh my god.
Now there are, however,
Noel also killed the
developments.
Tamagotchi.
There are developments in the toy industry when it comes to virtual pets. A lot of toy creators have been finding ways to use robotics, and either combine it with AR or combine it with apps.
Mm.
So some of them include the Ant House Smart Pet Companion. I was looking for one of the games that I was sort of working on. I can't find it. But it was basically this robot dog,
Okay.
and there's a button on the head, there's a button on the snout, there's a button on the rump.
Okay.
So depending on the dog's feelings, where you touch it affects his reactions.
Oh, okay.
But if you had to leave, let's say you had to go to school,
Okay.
then you could get your phone, turn on the app, you take a picture of your dog to say goodnight, the toy goes to sleep,
Oh.
but continues on in the app.
Oh wow. That's
So now you can play
that's
with
a
your dog on the
concept.
phone.
Well, play with your robot
Mhm.
dog on your phone.
And it was a project that was one of those we worked on briefly, but cannot say more beyond that. But there's stuff like that that happens now. You have others wherein the toy is robotic enough that depending on how you've been treating him in the app, the toy reacts that way.
Mm.
So like if you've always been um, so if you've been playing with the pet in the app, if you've been feeding it, then the toy would be nice and happy as well. But if you're not feeding him, when you try to play with the toy, it's always just down.
Oh
And
my
it's
gosh, that's kind of traumatic. It's a good lesson, but kind of traumatic. Maya mentioned they sent a dog robot in space together with astronauts.
mm,
That's a precious toy. I mean, like, because every gram of weight you send up there is so expensive. Okay.
yeah. Others have combined the digital experience to represent things that the pet can do on their own.
Okay.
So there's a smart dog toy wherein if you have it go on a walk, the app will show you where he goes in your Google Maps
Oh,
like
that's so
display.
funny.
And then when it's back, the toy will wake up again and oh, you went there. It's little stuff like that.
That's it's funny but kind of silly. Noel does cite that it all sounds so complicated, and then, well, of course, he mentions Joanna, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay,
But for kids who are now so much more device
technically
savvy,
aligned. Yeah.
it is interesting for them because they now feel like, a lot of kids, when you just give a toy, they're like, okay, then put it down and play with their app. But then if you find a way to incorporate the app, they like the interconnection.
That's fair. I mean, like, it always surprised me that I think my nephew at barely age 1
Mhm.
or around that, you could see that he learned how to reach towards the phone and just flick his finger. He was trying to swipe
Mhm.
to like interact, and like, oh my god, he's already learning how to interact with the phone. So I mean, it was young. I can't remember how old, but it was young. So it's just they're immersed in this environment. um I don't know, these days, like, okay, you know me now, like, I have another weird idle slash clicker game
Mhm.
again, which is Animal Restaurant, where, okay, it's a lot more tedious. It's not Neko Atsume, but it's kind of cute because it has so many animals visiting my restaurant, and then they all like different food.
Mhm.
So they want shaved ice and they want bibimbap, and then, but then there's also pizza, and it's a lot of tedious. I know I'm gonna get tired of this game eventually, but um, it's cute, and I'm always looking forward to what animal comes next. And my cafe is run primarily by cats, so I'm like a little suspicious.
But I think that's the thing that virtual pets gives us. It's the chance to dive in with less commitment at the thought of having certain pets.
Mm-mm.
Whether it's having the chance to take care of something more exotic, or something that is probably much more painful financially and responsibility wise to take care of. I mean, it's one thing to have a cat that you're actually taking care of, but then if you in the game can own 10 cats, why not? And there's less guilt if it doesn't go
And
well.
then I'm sure there are already like VR applications for like the whole virtual pet experience. I'm sure it's a
Um,
VR pet.
so VR is a scary world
Oh
of
my
stuff.
god, my virtual pet VR on the
Yeah.
Oculus.
Reality pet simulator exists for the Oculus. Um, they range from realistic to cartoony, um, but VR even goes beyond that. So there are some wherein they're already using the technology to relive moments with loved ones who have passed on and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting how far they're really trying to see the technology can go. So virtual pet simulator BOGO VR, for example. Um,
Oh.
it's those
And they
more
make it
fantastic.
like not realistic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an alien animal.
It allows them a bit more leeway because it's that weird uncanny valley syndrome wherein the
That's
more
true.
realistic you try to make something, the more it's not acting the way you expect, the more you'll feel it's weird. Whereas the more fantastic something looks, even if it doesn't make sense, you're fine with it because it's too fantastic for you to care.
Right, okay, but then when I go back to that 1990s Petz game,
Mm-hmm.
it really didn't do super a lot. But I think they nailed the motion,
Mm-hmm.
the animation of how they would run and tumble and move across your screen was quite realistic. I didn't understand the physics of it because it would treat your desktop as if it were it had depth of field.
Yeah.
But then you didn't really know like why is he up here versus down
Yeah.
there, and it had no sense with it based on your wallpaper,
Mm-hmm.
your desktop icons and the like. But then it was just cute, and then I don't know. I think I made some pets schizophrenic because then I'd like reward spray, reward spray,
Mm-hmm.
and just because I just wanted to see what would happen. It was very basic algorithms, I guess, running
And
it.
I liked how if you left them on their own, you'd see them stretching, you'd see
Oh
them
yes.
scratching, you'd see them running around after their tail, and then they'd look around nervous, and then they'll hide, and it made it feel so real. And despite the fact that it was mostly just balls bouncing around on screen,
Yeah.
you would so buy into it because it captured that essence.
And like I mean, even as a quote unquote game, but really you spend most of your time just watching it and just like seeing what it'll do. Because that game was so low level nga, because it didn't overly gamify it. It didn't like have all the meters telling you what the animal needed and demanded or all these things. Noel of course mentioned that his only pet was Clippy. That's the safety pin on Microsoft Office. Clippy. It probably doesn't count as a pet, although he didn't need feeding, so that helps.
And does interact with you to some extent.
Yes.
Just snarkily. I see you need help with a blank.
Oh, I see you're trying to write a letter. It's like,
Would you like to use these templates?
you always have. So I super appreciate on Star Trek Lower Decks when they invented the holodeck equivalent of Clippy, and he was just as annoying. It's like, oh, I see you're trying to blah blah blah. Like, oh my god, it's so Clippy. It's so Clippy.
And then I think the joy of virtual pets carried over when it came to other simulation games. So like I really got into Black and White,
Oh, I love
which
black
had
and white.
you playing gods.
That look like animals.
No. You had avatar animals.
Oh, that's true.
Right.
That's
you
true.
you were a god, which was a disembodied hand that moves around the landscape by dragging.
Yes, yes. Which okay, they
And then-
thought it was a cool mechanism. In practice, it was a very tiring navigation.
And then
mechanism.
when the animal avatar is nice, you can touch it, and sometimes it jiggles when you touch into certain
But
spots.
then you could become
then
a
you can
wrathful
slap it.
god. I used to. Oh my god! I tried that. I made a very angry animal. I just kept slapping him, and then he like got darker shade.
and when they're so angry, they start pooping everywhere.
yes, and then he'd like pick up people and eat them, and like,
Yes.
oh my god. But then
Yes.
it still generated
Faith.
faith, so
Yes. Because
it was
sacrifice is
working.
a strong area, a strong way to get faith.
Ooh.
But Black and White was an amazing simulator, which admittedly was I think a natural offshoot of pet games. I know Black and White is still available on Steam, at least from the last time I checked. Is it gone? Or is it overpowered by all the other Black and White games?
I don't see it. Maybe it's on GOG.
Try Black/White. Oh, still nothing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it might be GOG.
And that was Bullfrog, diba? If I remember correctly. Was it or Lionhead who developed it? I can't remember.
You,
Let's switch Black
you
and White.
could try searching Populous. St. Peter, eh? Or what was that other one? Goddess?
Godus. Okay, wait. Now we're looking at Black and White. Lionhead Studios.
Yeah, it's black and white. Na. It's really black and white.
Yeah, I remember. I was super proud of this game, and then like, and I love God Sim games.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know where now. I guess it's probably down to the level of a GOG game.
Yeah, it falls under abandonware.
Okay, okay, all right. So
So as of the late, um, it's a lot of casual games now.
that's true. I mean, like even if I like or like just looking at my restaurant game, I'm already getting tired. And then
Mm.
even Neko Atsume, I played it for quite a while. But then like once you've like kind of decorated out like the garden and your main living room, then you're really like, how much more am I gonna wait for cats? You know? Because I think I also completed most of the cats in the library at the time, except for the super rare ones. And then I was just like super not patient enough to like set up the necessary toys to catch not even cat but catch a photo of the other cats. Then you tire out. So I see how the virtual pet thing tends to like has shifted to a casual experience.
Mhm.
Because it's work. It's a lot of work.
And I think that's part of what has explained the shift to a more casual approach to the gameplay. A lot of the younger market just don't really have the patience to care for and treat or watch over a virtual pet the way we did in our time. Not to say that they're not interested in such simulation games. It's just that
There's a lot of things competing for attention.
or games like Nintendo's, for example, you don't just stick with one dog for like the length of the game. You're able to change dogs. You're able to, and that all represents the need to keep things interesting and changing for the audience.
Mitch is asked like, how do you keep the spark with your virtual pet? I don't know. I don't know anymore.
For many of us, the appeal of the virtual pet back then was because we were creating our own stories. It would be, oh my God, hindi mo nakita, my dog was going crazy over the mouse, and then when I printed this paper, it was scared by the sound. And, these aren't necessarily coded events. For all we know, it was a random moment. It was acting scared. But since it happened while you were printing, you're now thinking it's the story. And that's what a lot of it is like.
Or like I'd be like studying or working on like papers for school, and then after like, oh, let's have the dog come out, and then you're like, it was just other fun but very chill things to do on your computer, and play with. It was really just experience a pet. It wasn't even caring for a pet, and it wasn't like Neopets where it's super gamified and like you weren't really taking care of pets. You were playing games to dress up your pets and to build them and get them stuff, because you're just trying to get currency. So I don't know. There was a purity of the pets experience that I will always miss. I don't know if it'll ever succeed again because like there's a lot of games now are determined to add a lot of layers of like gamification and system. I don't know, so that it feels more like a game. But yeah, I don't know.
And in many ways, there are also now games that try to be more experiential. or games that try to um, they don't try to focus on an actual game, but they try to simply encourage you to play, to explore. So like one of the new ones by a friend of ours,
Oh,
which is Soup Pot.
soup pot where you cook
This
sinigang.
this is no, ang alam ko not just sinigang.
Ah, hindi na. Okay, that's
It's more
cool.
than just sinigang. But it's basically on Steam. Soup Pot is a cooking game where you can make a lot of different food. It's by Chicken Club, um, which it's a lot of local dishes. Everything from making kare-kare to making sinigang. But unlike most games, it doesn't punish you if you do it wrong. It
Mm,
just allows you to see how far you can go in making them. And that includes sapin-sapin, lumpia, banana queue, and all this and that. So you might want to check that out. It's not yet released, but you can sign up on Steam for the upcoming game. And if I remember correctly, there was a time where they had the link open for some testers.
mm, okay.
But they're looking at over 100 dishes, and there will be 3D renders of the food when you're done.
Oh my god. And I think it reminds me of like remember that game, that Double Fine game, whatever Mountain,
Mhm.
or I forgot they just recommended it, but and it was really just this weird like
Yes, yes.
you are a mountain, and then you just went through the seasons and just wanted to see what would happen. And it was a
Occasionally, you'll
weird,
see deer running,
yeah,
or
yeah,
the
yeah.
trees
It
will
was
grow.
it was a very limited. It was like a very plodding experience game. But then I played it for a
Mm.
while and just like because you just wanted to see what would happen. And I wonder if there are enough people in the current gaming market who like are open to these
Mhm.
things, and really just wanna chill and not necessarily have achievements.
And I think in the end, that's what makes pet simulators very niche now because they seem to demand time, and you would find yourself, I'd rather play something else
Mm.
than spend time taking care of this unless I can do it in small doses and come back.
And
And
get rewards
and that's
and feel
where
like there's progression.
and that's where idle games kick in.
Yeah.
Wherein it's all about leaving the game and coming back to see what has happened so far. So like
Mission.
one of the idle games that I've really been getting into, well, I'm almost done with it, but it started out as research, is Hungry Hearts,
Hungry
which is
Heart.
basically Midnight Tokyo,
Oh, that one.
Midnight
Okay.
Diner
Yeah.
as a video game. So I'd highly recommend you check that out if you want to see that. But in terms of actual pet games, I don't think I have any anymore. Because I tried a
I know you
few,
tried some of those blobby
yeah,
things.
and again, it's research. But I didn't find myself wanting to keep playing them anymore.
Mm-mm.
And again, it's that uncanny valley thing we're in. For example, Nintendogs has really great artwork if you look at Nintendogs. But because they look so real, I can so tell they're CG pets
Mm.
because I can tell they're animated a certain way. Compared to pets, which did not look real,
But
but
moved,
then
had good motion. And that's what
yes,
I can't like get over. Like and in modern context, it's like these are very simple walk
mm.
animations, and they weren't perfect feline or cat animations, but it
Because
was enough to buy into it.
and the thing is, when you have something that looks more real, a standard walk cycle has to be a certain way so it looks proper in that
Mm.
realistic art. But then it loses personality,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's what makes it so hard.
And that's why people keep going with these alien pets
Mhm.
to like then they're not
there,
obliged to be
there's
realistic.
more leeway, and I think that's why games like Spore were fun
Oh
for
my
us
gosh, Spore.
because Spore wasn't really a virtual pet, but it still had that. Let's see where we can take this animal. Let's see if we can develop it from a cellular creature eating other cells to now this thing in the
This
this
spacefaring
this
nation.
this thing in the planet that's doing mating dances in hopes of
Oh, I
finding a
remember
partner.
that. Oh my god. Mitch was asking three things that we like with playing virtual pets. I mean, like I like the surprise
Mhm.
interactions. Like because the at least the pets game that we used to play, because you could leave it on. It was an overlay, eh. So
Mm.
you could leave it on while working in other windowed apps on your desktop. So like I
Mhm.
could be typing in Word, and then I have my dog running around,
Mm.
and then occasionally like it would try to grab your mouse,
Yes.
your cursor, and then like, oh my god, and then you have to play with it tuloy.
Mm-hmm.
Or the flip side, if you don't play with it, it starts sulking in the corner, then it'll go to
Mm-hmm.
sleep. And we really had moments of like, if you leave your computer too long, and then the speakers are on, and then you come back, and then like, who's snoring? And then
Mm-hmm.
the dog is snoring, and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, my dog's snoring. So that's one thing I
Mm.
super like. What can you say?
I like the feeling that they really did feel like they gave you company because
Mm,
they were enough to make you think they were alive, even if you knew they weren't.
yeah.
The reactions, the expressions, there was enough of a personality in them that made it interesting.
And I think maybe that's why I never got into Tamagotchi. Because Tamagotchi was very like, I mean, because I got to play with,
Tamagotchi was very demand.
yes, it
I
was
have
like, feed
demands,
me. I gotta poop, clean my poop.
which
You know?
which in a way, using game theory, um, Petz was more experiential, was more the social aspect. Tamagotchi was more black hat, which is do this or I die, do this or I poop, do this or I
Yeah,
dirty, do this or I'm sick. So it's do this. It's avoidance. It's about
yeah.
trying not to make things go bad. And it's the same system that was used in games like Farmville, wherein you know collect the crops or they rot. Or
Mm.
so it's powerful. You find yourself stuck and getting into it, but then you get burnt out really fast, and you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I guess what would be the last one? I think for me the last one would be the lack of guilt.
Yeah, because that they were these perfect pets. Because
Mm.
they didn't make a mess. They didn't need a bath. You could feed them, but they never went hungry. It's like they weren't super
Or to the
demanding.
very realistic statement of there was no repercussions if you failed.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could always reset and play again.
And reset was just changing the pet,
Mhm.
but it wasn't like there was no death.
Yeah.
There was no death for pets with a Z. It was just they're there. And then if you didn't like it, you could swap them out,
Hmm.
or you could call back the old one and just play again. And it was pretty no frills in that regard. And kudos to you, PF Magic, wherever you are now.
Hmm.
Um, this was a great this was a great pet experience, and it's a shame that I don't see anything like it on the market.
Or at least there might be, but it's not getting enough press, so we're not really seeing it.
Maybe because
It's,
there is that especially when it comes to simulation type games,
mhm.
that there is this more and more this desire to be like hyper realistic, or like to really dive super deep into things. It's like the difference between playing earlier editions of SimCity versus like playing City Skylines now. I mean, I love Skylines. It's amazingly impressive. But then sometimes it's like so much work because I gotta map out my bus route and
Mhm.
like make sure that I have the right number of bus stops. Whereas before, I would buy a bus depot and then buses just magically do their thing. So there is that there is a difference in that shift. And even looking now, like as I prepare to get into things like Planet Zoo, where there's so many things to customize, and I don't know if I'm really going to want to bother. And like, I'm probably going to use all the preset buildings and
Mhm.
templates, and because I don't want to be bothered. So I don't know. You looked up the PF Magic, right?
Yeah, so he's on LinkedIn. I have one connection. Um, so on LinkedIn, he worked on a game, an interactive drama called Facade back in 2005,
Mm.
which he released as a freeware thing.
Wow. Okay.
Um, he worked in the Center for Games and Playable Media, a DARPA-funded multi-year
Whoa.
effort to train police and military units to use less force. Um, there were 2008 games for iPhones. His first title, Touch Pets Dogs. Can you try searching that? It was a free app in November 2009.
Oh, it's like very cartoony.
Yeah. But I guess that was his attempt to bring back
Pets
the Petz
idea.
feel.
Which
It was shut down
oh yeah, it's an iPhone
and
game.
removed from the App Store already.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but as of now, he's still the co-founder and developer of Playable
Playable
Studios
Studios.
for VR AR experiences.
It's nice that he's progressed.
Mm-mm. Cool.
We still miss pets.
Yeah.
If there's and now I'm gonna like really quickly check GOG and like the GOG of pets, I would
Mhm.
be impressed. I barely work with my GOG account anymore, but pets. No results found.
Oh.
Buti pa Steam, they have pets forces, but I don't think that's something I'd want to play. All right, it's like 10 o'clock. I think that's as much as we'll go with like this virtual pet discussion.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, our universal experiences are not universal, but I hope that you enjoyed us talking about our particular virtual
Mhm.
pets, even though they weren't your virtual pets.
I'd love to see I'd love to see one that tries to combine print media
What do you
with
mean?
a pet simulator. Imagine if, let's say, you could buy a book, and then the app shows you the pet or something, and then you could have your kid, for example, choose pages in the book, and then when you scan it, something like that. I'd love to see something
So
like
like
that,
AR, and then the pet is in the book or on the book.
something like that,
Hmm.
maybe, or even if it's completely virtual, so it's the pet's completely in the app, but then the book allows you to interact with the pet in certain ways.
Hmm.
So like maybe if you hold your device and you're looking at the game, but then you put the book in front of the app at a certain page, it will load something or it will change the environment. That'd be interesting for me.
Nico joined at towards the end. Hello, Nico. Okay, and then yeah, Mitch is like appreciates learning about other virtual pet things. I'm glad. So there are a bunch of videos on YouTube of the old incarnations of the
Yes.
pets, dogs, and pets, cats games, and
But try to find the oldest ones because you'll see how it's literally made of circles.
yeah,
And
they
it's
were
amazing.
weird fuzzy circles. And then I think I got a kick out of the cat when the cats first start purring. I'm like, oh my god, I did something right.
Because they use the circles also for the eyes. So like
Yeah,
really huge eyes with a circle body. Really well done.
it was a very particular experience. All right.
But yeah, I guess that's it. That's our brief episode on pets tonight. Tomorrow we are having a bigger episode.
Well, we'll see how big it gets because we're gonna talk about our heroes things. But admittedly, it's a Friday night, and a lot of things are competing for attention.
So we might keep it short and sweet to be able to support the other events.
Yeah, so it's not gonna be as long as like something with a guest, definitely. But we'll see. It depends on how much fun we have with it, I guess. I mean, that's really what determines the length of a Baduy Pride episode, and like just how much we're enjoying. So
But yeah, that is our episode on pets. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun and we hope you'll join us again next time.
So for questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can fill out the Google form at bit.ly, Baduy Pride Ideas. This was another, like, I think it was a Mitch suggestion also, but
Mhm.
we kind of twisted it around and talked about what virtual pets we were familiar with. You can follow us on Twitter, also we no shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, badayprayer.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. What was your virtual pet while growing up? And then what do you kind of hope to see from a virtual pet experience now? What would make you play? Let us know in the comments. And be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride. Good night.